Welcome to Sunday Supper. I am Mike Jordan, and with me, as always, our Southern Kitchen's Associate Editor, Kate Williams.
Hi.
And our Editor-in-Chief, Ashley Twist Cole.
Hey, y'all.
And we also have with us today the great and wonderful Chef Jeffrey Gardner.
Hello, hello.
All right, and you're joining us today on Facebook Live for our Instant Pot episode, which we thank you for joining and for chiming in. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments, and we'll see if we can get to them. Now, with us, again, Jeffrey Gardner, and he's going to help explain how this Instant Pot thing works, what you should be cooking in it. He knows a little bit more about it than we do, and you'll find that out as we go on. First, we want to make sure that you all know that this part of Sunday Supper is presented by Kohler Signature Storage by PDI. Make cleanup a breeze with Kohler's Gentleman's Bar Sink Faucet in the Artifacts collection, which features a vintage artisan-inspired top-mount handle, a temperature memory system, ceramic disc valves that exceed longevity standards, plus much more. And to this Instant Pot thing. So, what exactly is this thing? And before we even get into it, just so folks know that there's legitimacy to what we're doing,
Tell
us about yourself. Tell us about yourself, Chef Jeffrey Gardner.
All right.
Like, tell us, who are you?
So I'm a native of Natchez, Mississippi. I'll claim dual citizenship with Louisiana whenever it suits my narrative. I've been in the restaurant business for 15 years, the last 10 of which in Atlanta.
Yes.
I was the first chef from Atlanta to be on Chopped.
Yay.
And the first chef from Atlanta to be on the Southern Kitchen team.
That's right. Yeah. Slightly trustworthy. Okay, very good. Of questionable, but of decent enough means. So you have some experience, as we've talked off camera, about the Great Instant Pot, and I know that that's a hot topic. Like I think Kate and I spoke about it. The Instant Pot is the hottest kitchen tool in America right now,
And it has been. Like for the past 2 years, it's like do everything in an Instant Pot. It's like a cult almost, right?
It is, and I was skeptical at first. My wife got me into this. She bought one. There are Facebook groups devoted to it. There are people who just scan the cookbook that comes with it, the little Mario Duck Hunt game that comes in with the box, if you will, and I will. And to just scour through these recipes and to find new ones that work. And so first I'm like, new technology. It's not gonna hold up. I'm going to stick with my tried and true. But the fact that it does serve as both a slow cooker and a pressure cooker in one, and you can saute in it. You don't have to transfer it to a burner. It's kind of its own self-contained thing.
Yeah.
I'm converted. I'm in the club.
So wait a second, Jeffrey. Does that mean we don't need our slow cookers anymore?
Right.
If you were work with what you're comfortable with. I know that obviously I had a slow cooker for a long time, being of Southern descent. That's just kind of part of what you have. Pressure cooker was of a little bit more mystery, and so I purchased one. So having both of those in my home, and then the Instant Pot came in. It's a 2-in-1. You don't really need, let's say you have none to start with. I would advise getting the Instant Pot before you would get a slow cooker,
crock pot, or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Start with the Instant Pot now. So, is this a word of mouth kind of thing? Like it feels like how mixtapes kind of pass underground and everything. It's just like all of a sudden the Instant Pot was this big thing, and it seems like it's come out of nowhere. But everywhere you go, especially on social media, there's a lot of conversation. But can you kind of figure out when and how the hype kind of built?
I think it started, at least where it came on my radar, probably about 2 years ago, somewhere in there. Yeah. And through Facebook groups, it's a way for people to share what they're making, but under the guise and the blanket of, this is easy, you can try this too. And so people would show photos of their finished dishes, and they look great. And they would say, like, I just did this in an Instant Pot. And you're like, and it kind of becomes contracted. Instant Pot is the name, but I think just as you, I don't know if it's just Southernese or whatever it is, as you go along, it just becomes Instapot.
I was about to tackle that because I think I heard you say Instapot and then you said Instant Pot. If the audience out there, you just roll back the footage, you'll hear it. But so it is an Instant Pot, and it is. But we're talking about Southern accents. There's Southern food you can make in this thing, apparently, and it turns out, as you said, really good. So I know you actually brought some things that you want to kind of throw together, and we're going to do a little bit of like a real expo of how to make something. What are you making for us in the Instant Pot today?
So when we're filming this is early March. I almost said late February, but we're in the middle of the Lenten season, and so on Fridays, the Catholic community doesn't eat meat, and so this was a dish from New Orleans that never really quite grew up and left Louisiana. It's called gumbo zerbs, And really, at its core, it's just a big mess of greens cooked down with Trinity and served over rice, perfect to really chop the time in half or even more so under pressure.
Okay, now Trinity, explain Trinity for those who may not be familiar.
So in classical French cooking, you have what's called the mirepoix, that is onions, celery, and carrots. The Trinity takes away the carrots and adds green pepper. And we're using, I'll get into it in a little while, poblanos. I'm in the camp of green peppers leave little to be desired.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Extra flavor.
But aromatic.
Yeah.
Gives us a little kick of aroma and smell. Yep. So gumbo Z-herbs, and it's spelled Z''Herbes.
That's it.
Okay, just making sure we know, because I didn't know when you first were talking about this, and I was like, are you sleepy today? Or, it's like Z-herbs.
It feels a little made up,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things you look at and you're like, gumbo.
Nobody wants to be the one to take the leap of faith to pronounce it in case we're going to be wrong. I saw the phenomenal, iconic New Orleans chef Leah Chase make this in a video demo once, and I was like, I must try this.
Yep, Dookie Chase in New Orleans. Shout out to the great Leah Chase. Okay, well, if you were also going to say, before you start making it, in addition to the fact that it's in season and that it has some religious and it has some kind of background of what makes it relevant for right now, what else would you say is, a reason for the intimidated? Could this be your first dish in an Instant Pot if you haven't done it before?
Yeah, because it's really forgiving. It's not like you're dealing with a big piece of meat where you may have, I just ruined it, I cooked it too long, or it dried out. Because I will say, in the cookbook, they have what I would, culinarily, some errors. To me, things like boneless, skinless chicken breasts, pork loin, the non-working cuts of meat that are featured in there don't respond well to prolonged pressurized cooks. They would take better to direct heat. So using things like chicken thighs, if you're going to use a chicken dish, boneless pork shoulder, or even bone-in, those tend to work a little bit better. Things like beef chuck or brisket versus maybe, let's say, a strip loin.
Excellent.
Did you hear that beep, beep, beep?
There's a beep. Yep.
It's the Instant
It's my
Pot.
beeper, actually. I'm getting a call from my friends from 1996.
have some viewers saying hello.
Oh,
Hi,
hello.
viewers.
Robin
Hello.
from Bastrop, Texas.
Yeah.
Sylvia from Hampton, Georgia. Laura from Los Lunas, New Mexico.
All right.
And we have a Joseph Robinson.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks
y'all.
for
Thanks for
watching.
watching.
Thank y'all. Yeah. All right. So this Instant Pot, see again, all of a sudden. So, and again, folks, if y'all have questions, drop those in the comments, because Jeffrey's here and he's gonna make this gumbo zerbs. Zerbs?
You got it. There you go.
Yeah. He's gonna make the recipe, show us how it's done. So again, feel free to hit us up in those comment sections and let us know if you have any particular questions. What do we say? Are we ready to kick this thing into gear?
Let's
Let's
go
do
do
it.
it.
All right, so we're going to be asking Jeffrey some questions as he's cooking or preparing this recipe for gumbo.
Rapid fire questions.
Yeah, like serious Jeopardy here. I don't know, Kate, you cook a lot. Do you use the Instant Pot?
I don't.
You don't?
I have used one, but I don't actually own an Instant Pot.
What is your opinion of the Instant Pot? And right now, Jeffrey's putting in, what are you putting in over there?
Onions, celery, and then diced poblano peppers.
Onions, celery, diced poblano peppers.
Green bell peppers are most traditional, but
Yep.
better flavor.
But Jeffrey likes to take things to a new level.
Yeah, he does. Look over there. Look at the technique. Look at the flick of the wrist. All right, now.
So you got some oil in there too, right, Jeff?
Little oil to start. This is on the saute mode
Okay.
of the pot, and we're going to change it when we put the lid on to go to more of a pressurized cook.
Cool.
Any specific kind of oil you suggest?
I would start with just a neutral oil, vegetable oil, but olive oil would work fine. Just nothing too, certainly no nut oils, and then nothing too pronounced. I wouldn't use your best extra virgin when you're starting with this.
Jeffrey, what are some of the craziest things you've seen people make in an Instant Pot? We talk about it being very cult-like, right? And I know you can make things from yogurt to rice to hard-boiled eggs, obviously to gumbo and some of our southern favorites. But what are some of the craziest things you've seen or tried?
One that I thought that was not going to work, just chef instinct kicks in, no way this is going to work, shrimp and grits. Thinking that, okay, when you put the grits in the bowl on the little trivet, that, when you're cooking grits, you got to stir them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, they came out fine. They needed a little bit more time than one of the recipes suggested, and more liquid just to kind of come together as creamy grits. But then realizing that you could add the shrimp once the sauce had cooked, you didn't run the risk of overcooking the shrimp. So that was something that I didn't realize you could just turn this into a one-pot wonder. And I've seen this recently. haven't read the article all the way through. I've heard that people are making wine out of this thing.
We'll get to that later, okay? Like, you just stick to what's going on right now,
Jumping the
young
gun
man.
there,
You're getting a little feisty.
Spoiler alert.
What do we put in that pot right there, my man?
We just added some garlic.
Okay.
We're going to add some bay leaves in here.
Okay. Garlic isn't going to cook, well, of course, it's Instant Pot, but you're really just in there and getting it aromatic, I would assume?
Right. So you're going to cook down your Trinity, get a little bit of that flavor built in, then add your garlic because it's not going to take as long to cook. I'm going to add a little bit of dried oregano.
Okay. All right. Dried herbs are pretty good for this, huh? I see we have the fresh greens, but dried herbs are just fine?
Dried herbs, from what I've seen, is the most traditional for this dish. But, I think that a lot of this comes into what's in season and what you're able to find. Gumbo is definitely more of a Cajun, interpretation of a dish. So, you're less dependent on the supermarket and more kind of what you can find. So you may not have as access to fresh herbs all the time.
Excellent. All right. So
We actually, sorry to interrupt, Mike. We actually got 2 questions from Facebook
right.
for Jeffrey or anyone here at the table. How do you clean your Instant Pot?
All right.
And let me caveat to that and say, I mentioned this before we started. This is a question I want to know also because I cannot get my Instant Pot to not smell like chicken tortilla soup, which I made months ago. And I've made other things. I know you're looking at me like, what's going on?
No, I bet it was really good. If the smell's still there, it's probably delicious. Yeah.
I've made other things, but the lingering smell of chicken tortilla soup just is there in my Instant Pot.
So the pot itself, the insert can be removed, and to the best of my understanding, it's dishwasher safe. So even if you're just using a basic dish soap and a scouring pad, you can scrub that out, and then that can go back in. The lid and the sides and the rims need to be cleaned. I don't know if there's an exact science to it. I'm a big fan of the Clorox wipes that come out, and so I'll just kind of give the rim, depending on how much schmutz may have risen up. Usually, it's just condensed steam from whatever you've been making. But if it was packed pretty full and you had a braising liquid that might have gotten a little out of control, just a wipe down with a gentle soap. To me, the rim underneath the part that doesn't come out is very difficult to clean, and so I'll take one of the Clorox wipes and put it on the end of the butt end of a spoon or a chopstick or something and kind of get around those hard to reach corners because even my finger wouldn't get to that.
So that's not a patina, folks. You don't want to build that up. That's a little bit different from cast iron. That doesn't help your meal by any means.
Is schmutz the official culinary term for mess?
We're gonna make it so.
The other question, I think this one is for everyone at the table. What's your favorite dish to make in an Instant Pot, or favorite dish that you've had?
Instant Pots make really good stock and really, really fast stock. So dump a bunch of chicken bones or beef bones or pork or even a mixture of all kinds of animal bones in there with some aromatics, a bunch of water, and just turn it on and let it go. Takes half an hour and you'll have crystal clear stock afterwards. Much faster than simmering it.
This will be my first time having anything that I've known of in an Instant Pot. So yeah, I'm very happy that it's gumbo because that would be what I will probably want to cook in it because I like making gumbo, but it takes me 3.5 hours. And so for it to be made, and that's again having Jeffrey right here on camera and doing this live, I get the benefit of my brain will figure out this really can be done. It is as easy as people tell me because I love gumbo. 3.5 hours is a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. Yep. So I've made shrimp and grits in the Instant Pot, and they turned out awesome. I was very skeptical like Jeffrey, but one of my favorite things to do is make hard-boiled eggs in the Instant Pot. I mentioned that, and then you can use them for everything because you don't actually have to watch them. When you make hard-boiled eggs in the pot, you kind of got to set your timer and watch them and do the thing and put them in the Instant Pot, set the timer, and you're done.
What's the time on hard-boiled eggs in an Instant Pot?
You have to check the manual.
Okay.
7 minutes.
Seven. Jeffrey
Check
Gardner.
Jeffrey, the manual.
Always
So
on the perimeter.
We've been talking over here, but Jeffrey, what have you been sticking in the pot while we've been chatting?
So the hallmark of gumbo's herbs is it is just a whole mess of greens that goes in. You got to have a variety. It can't just be one. But if you can find 5 or 6 and throw them in there that just have some different flavors and textures. So I've got some Savoy cabbage. I've got Swiss chard. There's some Italian parsley, watercress, kale, collard greens. You could use spinach, arugula, anything. We're just going to add some of everything to the mix.
And it sounds like you're right. A mess of them, your pot overfloweth there.
Yes.
It's a lot going on. Yeah.
It will, as you've seen, I remember being 9 years old, and my grandfather bought 2 giant cases of collard greens from the farmer's market out in Forest Park, and we have to clean all of these. I'm like, how many people are you cooking for? And then it cooked down, to feed probably 6 of us.
Right.
So same treatment there. You don't feel shy about putting in your mess of greens. Very nice. Okay. Now, as you're putting these in, is there any sort of like, you're putting them in, it just looks like greens and greens, but you're also picking them. Do certain greens do better on the bottom? Do certain greens need more heat, or they're all just going to?
You're trying to make this complicated, and I have a feeling it's very easy.
I'm getting scared.
No, but these are good questions, because these are what I think some of the folks that are listening and watching are going to have.
Yeah.
Instant Pots are really forgiving. And so it's kind of one of those, before you put the lid on, if you're going to develop a flavor base, you can. You could even conceivably make this by just dumping everything in raw and then putting the lid on. So it's just one of those all the kids in the pool at once.
So now that you've moved that bag of greens, we can kind of see the Instant Pot a little bit more. There are a lot of buttons on there, Jeffrey. That is intimidating.
Yep.
Can you talk about the functions and maybe like 2 or 3 main buttons that you'll use most of the time, if that's the case?
Yes.
And that's
absolutely.
veggie broth, right?
Right. So our thing is going. So we have the Sautee Function right here. This kind of turns what the heating coil that's around here into a burner.
Can you move that pepper shaker a little bit so we can see? Thank you.
Good cue to add pepper to
there
our
you
dish.
A lot of
Yes.
pepper?
So get our salt out of the way. Do a little Vanna White here. This is the saute button right here in your bottom left corner. So that would be to turn this heating coil into an active burner, to where if you wanted to start your base of a sauce, sweat onions and garlic. My wife made a killer chili in this the other day, and so we started by cooking our vegetables in the pot before we added all of our ingredients to it. And then some of these, just prefaces by saying, when you're getting a new piece of equipment, be it a big green egg, an Instant Pot, you're going to have about a 4 or 5 use learning curve to figure some of this stuff out.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Don't be discouraged if, on your first trial run, you're like, what just happened
Or
in
your
here?
5th trial
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, could be 6, 12.
okay.
But yeah, so kind of figuring out what some of the functions work for you. They have porridge. I've had oatmeal out of this thing before, and it's ready in about 5 minutes.
Did you use the porridge button when you made oatmeal?
My wife did, and I think she did. But really, some of these will come with time cues when you find your recipes out there. And so that takes playing with. One of the good things is once you've taken the lid off, it doesn't take that long once it's hot to come back to pressure.
Excellent. We got some beeps going on. Are those beeps meaning some stuff is beeping, or what's
Those
beeps?
are good beeps.
Those are
Good beeps,
Ooh,
all
that
right.
means it's almost lunchtime.
It is almost lunchtime. Hopefully, folks are either having something to eat right now as we get ready to eat this gumbo, or not going to be too upset at us for being able to sample it. So we still got that big mess. So what are we
Right.
doing now? This is the part that I think some folks get tripped on. Put
Okay.
them on the
Challenging
thing.
part.
This is
of
the
the
most
whole
challenging part of the Instant Pot, and now we're going to watch and judge
No
Jeffrey
pressure.
because putting the lid. This is so silly. Putting the lid on the Instant Pot took me like 4 or 5 times to do today. Like
Right.
it's ridiculous.
So it took me a little while when I first started, and I haven't used this particular model with the handle directly on top, because ours is our
Change up.
fake TV magic going on here. But so it tells you the direction in which to turn it to open it and close it. You've got your pressure valve on here. Make sure that that's set not to the venting or to the ceiling, but usually right in the middle, kind of in a neutral spot will allow it to seal. If it's too far on the venting side, it will not close, and you'll be fumbling with this thing to the point of
Okay, safety.
driving
kind
you
of
nuts.
thing. All right.
All right.
All right.
Oh yeah, we should talk about safety.
Was
Is
that
this
was that
safe?
the
That's-
official sound?
That's
that
the
you went,
official
right?
sound, and
Did y'all
then you just
hear
give it a turn.
That
It's
made
on?
me happy. I felt some Nintendo nostalgia right there. I thought that was a Duck Hunt or something like that. So that was beautiful.
So these are great safety functions. It's kind of, I think a lot of people have fear of the term pressure cooker because they may have found one in their grandmother's attic that would explode in the kitchen.
Right.
The new models, and then especially with the Instant Pot, does a lot towards user safety. I've not seen this thing go on the fritz or threaten to.
What about the reports of melting Instant Pots? Have you heard about that?
I have. That was one particular model, from my understanding, and it was kind of the one that's like more of the rectangular tray with the
Okay.
lid almost To me, it reminded me of when you would go to the gas station and find boiled peanuts.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of one of those sized.
Oh, it's like the Fiero model or something like that. Y'all remember the Fiero, the car that
Yes.
used to
Yeah.
catch on fire all the time? Shout out to them.
Shout outs. We have some viewers saying hi. We have
some
someone
questions.
from Warner Robins, Georgia. We
Hey.
have Alaska.
Hey.
We have
Southern
another
Alaska.
Unlocation person named Robert. So hello, Robert.
Hey, Robert, what's up, man?
Beep, beep,
Got
beep.
beeps?
Beep,
Is that
beeps
you
are
beeping
good,
me,
so-
Robert?
So, Jeffrey, and anyone who has made something in an Instant Pot, how long typically, I know it certainly will vary based on the dish that you're making, but about how long can you expect to make an Instant Pot dish from start to finish, sort of in general? Because I know that there's some kind of heating elements, and then you do if you're sauteing or pouring everything in, and then you've got to seal it, and then there's a certain amount of time for it to cook, and then you've got to release the pressure valve, right?
Right. So I would say, Kate, feel free to chime in on this if you like. I would say that most soups and stews take about 30 minutes at high pressure. It takes, depending on your model, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to reach full pressure. Then the timer will start. So this was something that confused me for several uses, is you'd see the on function, which it is right now. So I've set this under manual for 20 minutes, but right now it just reads on the front panel. What that means is that it has to heat to be able to reach full pressure. At that point, then the timer will start.
Gotcha.
And so about 30 minutes is kind of the magic number that I've seen for chili, for stews, for things like that.
Yep.
And then once you release the valve, it takes usually about 4 or 5 minutes. I've seen longer. I've seen one go straight for about 15 minutes. That's one where it's a helpful hint would be to try to do this on your countertop. If you have an island, even better. But not directly under your cabinets.
Yes,
because
I have soaked my cabinets before.
Okay.
Yep. But that's kind of like one of the secrets, Ashley.
Dun dun dun. I love secrets.
Of Instant Pots and pressure cookers in general, because you'll see like these recipes that say, oh, you can cook this pork shoulder in 30 minutes, but you really want to allow something more like an hour to actually, if a recipe says 30 minutes, allow an hour, because you have to wait for it to come to pressure. You have to wait for the pressure to come down, around that cook time. So, take a little bit of those times with a grain of salt.
Okay.
So I'm getting hungry. Are
Yeah.
we ready?
Let's see what this guy has to say.
We have the
You have some TV magic.
the
yeah.
Yeah,
magic
we will
of Hollywood.
see if we can have our hiss of
Yollywood.
pressure release on this thing.
Y'all hear
Can
that?
you hear that?
That is the release of pressure. That is the Instant Pot steaming into the air.
That's also the sound I make on Friday afternoons after work.
There's also steam coming
Yep.
from Ashley's head and when she actually makes that last move.
Once she gets her high noon old fashioned, the steam
right.
stops.
That's right. Yeah, you guys know me so well. So we are going to have, we talked about our little movie TV magic we have here. So we confess we've got kind of our staging Instant Pot, and then we've got the Instant Pot that Chef Jeffrey cooked the gumbo in earlier so that we could showcase. You guys don't want to sit here all day with us, or maybe you do.
Why wouldn't you? What are you doing right
So we can show you the finished product and show you how easy it actually was to make this really great gumbo. Very in season, very healthy. I believe it's obviously vegetarian. It's even vegan. I'm getting the thumbs up.
Yes, ding,
from
ding, ding.
Jeffrey.
Vegan it is.
Is it gluten free?
It is.
Oh, we're gonna get
Is it
rich.
paleo?
If you were to leave out the rice, I think it would be.
Is it
You could use
keto?
cauliflower rice.
If it's, I don't know if it's Whole 30 because some of those folks scare me.
That's
Yes.
kind of like paleo. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Although people are watching, like, you should probably try it.
So why don't we go ahead and do our bless your heart moment, and then we can finish by getting everyone hungry, and
Yeah.
we'll eat, and everyone wishes they had smell-o-vision.
Well, good thing that, before Jeffrey just blows the bless your heart moment. Thank you very much, sir. But no, our good friend Jeffrey Gardner is up on his news. And our bless your heart moment, if you've not seen it before, is the moment where someone would say bless your heart because something is not exactly right in the kitchen.
That's the nice way of saying, oh, you're kind of dumb.
Yeah, like everyone's grandmother has said that to them at some point. We don't know if she meant it or not. This week's Bless Your Heart is, as Jeffrey Gardner told us, there was a guy, and his name is David Murphy, and he wrote for a site called foodinservice.com about how to make Instant Pot wine. So, first of all, Instant Pot wine sounds like
Prison wine.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Prison wine.
Like, let's get it out there.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
Yep.
Why?
shouldn't you just buy cheap wine? It sounds like, and maybe it's good. I mean, he said he gives all the instructions and the ingredients you need. But here's where he got me. One of the ingredients is a 64-ounce bottle of Welch's grape juice. If I
No.
know that's the source of my wine, I'm already starting to question the stuff going on here.
So did you read the recipe? Like, how does it ferment? Like, what?
That was the kind of questionable aim because he's also saying that, and the conversation went from wine to beer.
Okay.
And so the discussion is, okay, yeah, this guy may have made Instant Pot wine, but the question of fermentation.
Can you drink the Instant Pot wine?
We
is
can
the
make
question.
a Bitcoin right now live on TV. Whoa. But, can you spend it? I don't know, but I think that earns it. If anyone wants to go see it out there, look for the guy, David Murphy. His story is at foodandservice.com, and
What-
he tells you.
What is he doing with this? He's certainly not selling it.
I feel like it's an infinite loop of him drinking Instant Pot wine and coming up
Making
with
more.
ideas to make more Instant Pot wine because, again, just spend the $5, man.
Bless his heart.
Bless your heart,
Bless
David Murphy.
your heart.
I know you're watching. Bless your heart. That's right. But that's my take on Instant Pot wine. I would like to see if such a device could make a beer, but again, it's fermentation, right?
Yeah.
How does that work
Fermentation
science-wise?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you heat it up and then you just let it sit there, but it needs oxygen.
Next on Southern Kitchen, how to ferment. Ooh, all right.
Really
Jeffrey's
next
coming
is
in.
we have our gumbo zerbs. Chef Jeffrey Gardner.
Pot's coming in. We're unplugged right now, so I don't think we're going to get the fun sound of the. Yep, there we go.
I did it.
Ooh, steam though, real steam.
It
Real s-
smells so good.
What does this thing look like, Jeffrey? Let's.
It's very brothy.
Very brothy and green.
Very brothy and green, that's right. It's got to be good for you.
Show
So just give it a stir to kind of mix up all of the greens that we layered in there.
Yeah.
That looks awesome. And then you've got some green pepper Tabasco here.
That's right, Louisiana's own.
It's the best Tabasco.
It is. I'm betraying my heritage. I'm not typically as much of a fan of the red chili Tabasco. I think it's a little too acidic.
Okay.
But for some reason, the green just seems to work really well. Now, you could make this any other time of the year. This is not purely a Lenten dish. The Lenten version is the vegetarian, but adding something like smoked turkey or ham hocks or andouille sausage or something to this would just be outright delicious.
Can we add all of those things?
Yes, we can. And probably should. We'll do one more good brothy
Let's do it.
bit.
Awesome.
There we go.
You got
That
it?
you perfectly showed the camera. That dish.
Yeah.
That looks so good.
I
like
failed
you
at trying to do this at home many times, so I've learned over the years. Can you get that? All right. We got. Now there's a lot of broth in here, and it has what you would assume, of course, is a kind of off greenish color of the earth. But this looks like the healthiest possible thing you could eat,
Right?
especially hungover, maybe. Because you're getting back those vegetables and nutrients. Not that we should be drinking, and not that the South has bourbon or anything, but
That's next week's Sunday supper episode.
An egg on top of that, a runny egg, would just take it really over the top.
So gumbo zerbs.
Okay.
Zerbs.
There it is.
This one's for me. And what do you guys got?
I'm gonna cry. I guess. I'm gonna feel like my
I'll share.
kickball
I'll share.
got taken. Well, cool.
Yep.
Well, I think we have a finished product here, gumbo zerbs. We can't wait to dig into it. If you all out there watching us from Facebook have any questions, again, continue to send those questions in. Chef Jeffrey Gardner or anyone on our team will make sure we get back to you. Anything else that I'm missing?
Just a quick thank you again to our sponsor, Kohler Signature Store by PDI,
Absolutely.
for helping us put on this great show. And thank you, Chef Jeffrey Gardner, as always, for your magic in the kitchen or in the studio.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Absolutely. And again, you can always get us with feedback at editor@southernkitchen.com. And also, please subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get yours. And hit those like buttons so you can continue to see us on Facebook. And until next time,
I'm Jeffrey Gardner.
you are Chef Jeffrey Gardner.
I'm Kate Williams.
I'm Ashley Twist Cole.
And I'm Mike Jordan. And remember, clean your Instant Pot.
Yes. Thanks, y'all.
See y'all later.
See ya.
Spoons.